fam, welcome to another episode of Good, Bad, and Ugly about real estate with Jose. Got a great guest for you today, my friend Brenda. Woo! How you doing, Brenda?
I'm doing great. I love the audio.
Hold on. There we go.
Love the intro. Appreciate you. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy person, busy investor, busy entrepreneur. So that being said, I won't spend any more of your time. So if you could share with the audience a little bit about yourself, your journey, and how you decided to get into real estate.
Yeah, I am a full-time hospital administrator. I've been in the healthcare field for 15, 16 years. Started off as an emergency room nurse and just kind of worked my way up. I went back to school, got my master's, and just climbed a ladder up to being a hospital administrator. So now I'm in leadership, right? Who would have thought? Because I feel like the leadership never stops, right? Especially if you're going to be an entrepreneur and you want to at some point have employees, it's a forever learning, and so it won't stop. And how I got into real estate was honestly, truthfully, it was God. I mean, that's as simple as I can possibly. Like, I was looking for a property, I purchased a property, and after that, like, Instagram started giving me like bigger pocket reels, and I was like, "Who's Bigger Pockets?" And so from Bigger Pockets, I was like, "Okay, let me just." They have podcasts. Cool. I love listening to podcasts. So I started listening to their. I think they have a. I don't know if they still have it because I don't listen to them anymore, but it was like a Financial Friday Freedom. So I was listening to that every time, and I was just like, "Wow, like these people are really doing it. I think I could do something like this, maybe." So I was like, still kind of like on the fence, but I wasn't really sure. I just knew like I wanted to make some kind of extra income for be able to make sure that like my parents are taken care of. They didn't have a 401k. They came here from El Salvador, and so they came here just wanting a better life for us, right? My siblings, and so I just remember they feature Pace Morby for the Wealth Without Cash book, and they featured him, and I remember started following him, and then he mentioned something about lending, and I was just like, huh. I think I could do something like that. Like, I have a little bit of capital.
Right.
And I decided to like just go all in. I was like, the worst that can happen is A, I never get my money back, or B, I can make more money back. And so I decided to just go all in and take the risk. And it's honestly been such a life-changing experience. Like, I never would have thought that that one decision that I decided to take action on was going to lead me to amazing people that I do deals with, and I like continue to like build relationships with, and actually understand they're like, we're all on similar mindsets and as a whole, right? You go outside the community and then you hear like someone with a negative mindset, you're like, oh gosh, like, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like, that's why I'm laughing.
Yeah, and so it's like, all right, let me come back. So anyways, and that's kind of how, I started off private money lender, still do it. I just have it now on recycle, because now that I've built relationships, I only allow my capital to go to 4 people. And so I know them, I have a relationship with them, I've hung out with them, I talk to them once a week, twice a week. And it's just really awesome to not have to like worry about that aspect. And so now, or since the 9 months ago, I started focusing more on transactional lending. And so my focus is mainly funding EMDs, funding double closes, even doing the Morby method, aka seller carryback, whatever people call it. There's like a few versions, a few names for it.
Back method.
Back method. And so I've been focusing on that while my money on private money lending gets recycled. Sure. And so, yeah, my goal is to truly help thousands of investors scale their business because I provided capital for them in transactional lending space. And so that was with like no real estate background. So anyone listening and says they can't do it, I promise you, if I did it, you can do it. I know that for a fact. And so
you're running a hospital or a medical clinic, right? So
Yeah. I work for one of Houston's top hospitals. And so, yeah, if I can do it full time, you can, if you can give up 10 to 15 hours a week, I know you could do it. I know that. Heck, even 10 hours. But it's all about like being genuine and trying to help people.
sure, I agree with that. So you mentioned about you had the one house. Was that a fix and flip, or was that just a purchase for a rental that you started off with?
A purchase for a rental. Yeah, it
And
was my first rental. I had no
you never
clue.
worn out.
No, well, yes and no. So I have a partnership. I have a
Okay.
partnership on a sub two house,
Okay.
and that one's a buy and hold for the next, 20 years or so. And
Hopefully,
then
right?
yeah, and then the other one is a pad split. So I have a pad
Okay.
split with another partnership as well too. And then I have an Airbnb arbitrage as well. So yeah, so that one property and then me joining the community, now I have 4, which is amazing, right? So I
Right.
think it's really cool, like, when people say, "No," like, you truly are one decision away if you, and not one decision meaning, like, you make that one decision and everything just falls into place, but meaning, like, you are one decision from really switching over that trajectory if you choose to.
I agree with that. So you went from not knowing anything about real estate. You decided to buy one rental, and then you pivot to saying, "I have some capital." How do you go from I don't know nothing about real estate that I'm gonna give people money that I've worked my butt off for, and then how did you protect yourself? Because you and I are both Gators. We also are in another community in school called Funwise, and we know that there are risks involved when you lend money. So for the audience, can you share with them how you protect yourself to make sure that you have a higher chance than not to get paid back?
Sure. So for private money lending, you definitely need a promissory note and you definitely need a deed of trust. Um, I will say with that, you still have to underwrite the deal to make sure that there's still enough room for you to get paid if something were to happen. And so usually I think what happens a lot is that people don't take that into consideration,
Right.
or they they do, but I think they see more of like the numbers of how much return they're going to get, and then
Right.
they get blinded by it. As far as like transactional lending, it's mostly a vetting the title companies and making sure that my contracts are in place so that my earnest money deposit is safe and will not leave, will be refundable, right? And so that's how everyone should protect themselves if they're going to do lending. There's always a risk. I mean, that's business. And I
Right.
think if your risk tolerance is low, then I wouldn't suggest that lending is for you. And I've had people like that. Like I've had people reach out to me and say, "Hey, I want to do like my first lending deal." But then after having a conversation with them, they're kind of like, well, I mean, and not saying that they're going to lose their money. Like their risk is still going to be mitigated, but there's still a risk. And so those are the main things for protection.
Gotcha. So this kind of a loaded question. You said you started off lending with your own money, and now that you're in two different communities, do you still use your own money, or do you partner with people and use other people's money?
So you think you have a lot of money until you get into several deals, and then you're like, I never really had a lot of money. So,
Right.
and then once you start, yes, I use other people's money. I collaborate a lot, and to be honest, the more and more I collaborate, the more and more fun I have. Like
Right.
it makes it so much better to collaborate. Like I don't want to do this by myself. I rather do this with people and like have relationships with them and be able to, like, how cool is it to call someone and say, "Hey, I have a deal and I need, XYZ money. Let's just say 50 grand. I only have 25 grand. Can you help with the other 25 and we'll split the profits?"
Yeah.
Right? So, number 1, I don't lose the deal. Number 2, I get to collaborate and build on another relationship. And number 3, we get paid.
There you go.
Like, how cool is that?
That's a dream, right?
Yeah, it's really awesome. I've really been enjoying real estate. I'm still learning a lot, but again, like my focus this year, like I'm going to relentlessly focus on the transactional space, and that's definitely my goal is to at least my goal is to have more than 20 deals a month that
Right.
I can't even use my own capital. It forces me to make more relationships and collaborate with other people because I don't even have enough capital to cover that.
Which is what we plan to do this weekend, right? That's squat up.
That's correct. That's exactly correct. That's why I don't know if you saw, but I posted something about if you're in it for long-term relationships, like if you don't just want to make transactions, but you actually want to have like relationships, then reach out.
Absolutely.
If you just want to have transactions, I'm probably not the right fit for you.
Yeah, me neither. I'm all about long term because especially in this business, that's the key, right? Relationships.
Yeah.
Um, so you mentioned length of time. How can you share with us how long you've been doing real estate and then how long it took you to get to your first, let's say, your first transactional funding deal?
So started real estate September of 2023.
Hmm.
Got my first private money lending deal in October. Got
Same
my
here.
first got my first payout in December, the end of December. And then my first transactional deal was in June, the ending of June. And it was through just me genuinely talking to someone about lending for transactional. Got my first deal, got paid out within 2 weeks. It was like 7 days actually. It was like the moment he told me about it, he sent me the details and I funded it when like 3 days. And then I got paid within a week. Like the deal just closed so quickly. I was like, oh, I didn't even have to keep my money in there for 30 days. Like even better.
Nice.
Yeah. So I got paid out. That gave me more momentum. Like I was like, oh, okay, I think I could do this. And then I got another deal within like 2 weeks, put that money into that deal, and then got paid out within like the 30 days. It was closer to like the 30 days. But then I was like, okay, like I'm going to keep this up. Like the momentum just started building. And I was just
Right.
like, oh yeah, I can. And I think what I want people to take from this is that even though I did those two deals, I still didn't really know what I was doing. Like I was still like I was like, okay, this deal went this way, and then this deal took the 30 days close to it. It's like 28 days.
Right.
And so I'm still trying to like, get familiar with like title companies and escrow officers. And every deal is different. It's similar in the sense of like what you need, the contracts you need in place, who you need to talk to. You always need to talk to the escrow officer, but it's never the same. Like
Right.
it's something always happens, like maybe something happened at closing, or the wholesaler couldn't get an in buyer, or he didn't underwrite correctly, things of that nature. But it's
Right.
still, you still learn in every deal.
So everybody runs their business differently. Like so when I do my transactional funding deals, or lending period, I use a transaction coordinator for my transactions. So that way, because I'm like you, I work a W-2 and there's things that always be going on. Like for example, this last deal I did um, was kind of convoluted because I'm just the gap lender, but there's also a primary lender involved in it. And
Mhm.
we were needing like abstract titles and um, all kinds of supporting documents for the because we chose the title company so that I knew my money was safe because there was a relationship there.
Mhm.
And it was nice having the transaction coordinator just handle all of that interaction, the communication between the borrower and the title company and the other uh, primary lender. So, do you use a transaction coordinator in yours, or do you pretty much do solopreneur and handle it yourself?
No, I use a transactional coordinator for my private money lending. I do for for the EMD on the people I have build relationships with. I do not. It's
Gotcha.
just like a matter of like between ours and our agreement, um,
Right.
and that's pretty much it. And again, like everyone works differently. That may
Sure.
not be suffice for the person hearing this, and someone else it will. but it goes back to basing it off relationships, right?
Agreed.
And so I've funded for people several times, and it's gone really well, and the relationship just keeps building. And so that's why I'm confident in like, and then I always look at it like in the sense of how someone can, even if something were to happen where the deal fell apart or whatever the reason, I've already had that before, and they
Right.
still paid me. And so they actually even gave me $500 for allowing my money to sit in escrow for 30 days, even though the deal didn't go through.
Oh, that's cool.
So I'm like, okay, like it's all about relationship building. But I think
Yeah.
a lot of the times people don't like to take the time, just like anything in life. They don't like to be intentional and make effort into building those relationships.
Yeah, I've done that with one of my borrowers, or I should say lenders, that I borrowed money for so I can lend out. Um, they said I got this X amount of dollars to invest with you so that you can, use it for funding. And there was like a whole month that I had it sitting in the account. I had nowhere to deploy it, and then like something came up and he needed it back.
Mm-hmm.
So I gave him the money that he let me plus the agreed fee, and he's like, "Why are you paying me more?" And I said, "He goes, you didn't deploy it." I was like, "That doesn't matter. You lent it to me, and
Exactly.
when I come back to you, I want to make sure that you're willing to lend it back to me because you're going to remember that I took care of you, even though it wasn't used." So
Yeah, it
it's like,
goes a long way.
yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah, when I tell people like, if you bring me a lead and you don't have capital, bring it to me. If the deal goes through and it closes and we get paid out, I will split 50-50 with you.
sure,
They're like 50-50. And I'm like, yeah. Like I'm not going to ruin a relationship over one EMD that got paid out. Like
right.
it's just not worth it.
Yeah,
So
I have the mentality of you brought 50%, right? You brought me the deal. I fund the deal. That's half and half. That's the way I pin. Now, I also have to share with them that I also have a partner that I partner with that has the funds. So
yeah,
you get 50% of my portion of the
exactly.
fee.
Yeah,
So,
no, absolutely.
so
And
they
then
make sure.
I've had people where I've done a deal with and they didn't want to get 50-50. And I said, okay, well, give me what you will like. But then it tells me something about them, right?
Sure.
Like more than likely, I probably won't bring you a deal again.
Right.
So, I mean, it just depends really. But if someone brings me that and I provide capital, I still, whether it's me or someone else, it's still 50-50 for me.
Gotcha.
Hmm.
I'm the same way. So the title of my podcast is Good, Bad, and Ugly. Can you share with us a good story you've had and probably a horror story that you learned a lot from?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Gosh, I have a lot of good ones. Probably my best one, um, 30-day, let me see. It was a 30-day deal, 30-day EMD, 50,000, and then got back a 15% back of that.
Oh,
I mean,
nice.
those are always like the sweet deals that don't happen too often. Bad story is when I started off, I did a deal with someone, a stranger that I didn't know, and I take full accountability for. And I lost money on it because he over leveraged. And I was able to take the property back, but I chose not to because after doing my research, which is what I should have done in the beginning, didn't know any better, was that it wasn't really worth it for me to take over.
Right.
And at first, I saw it like, dang, that sucks. Like, great, I lost money.
Right.
But one of the cool things that happened about that was it put me in a corner and it allowed me to see what I was truly capable of. And because it put me in that corner, I literally I had a mindset shift like, okay, you lost this amount, you have no you're going to go so hard that you're going to make that up by December. And that's almost pretty much what happened. Like I was
Right.
like between 15,000, like I think it was like 17,000 short of it. And
That's still
so
pretty good.
yeah, so for me, it gave me that, okay, I'm way more capable than this. Like I can totally do it if I truly focus. And really,
Sure.
so it taught me that. And it also opened some really amazing doors for me with other borrowers. And now we have like this amazing relationship where I just continue to help them and they help me. And so if that would have never happened, I don't think I would have met those two people.
Gotcha.
So I think like in the end, like, did I want to lose money? No. But had I never lost that money, that would have never happened. So
I firmly believe everything happens for a reason,
yeah.
and
Totally.
you had to go through that so that you can be where you are today. That's what my belief is, anyway.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I feel like God aligned that just right. Like, even though I learned that lesson in my book, it still wasn't like a loss. It was still, it's going to be even better, like in the future for it.
Absolutely, I agree. So you shared that you're a private money lender. What is it that people can bring to you to help you with your business, and they can also probably benefit from that partnership?
Gosh, more capital. Like if you're someone that just has money sitting in the bank and want to make a really good return with solid people that I continue to fund for, then yeah, I love to connect and have a conversation to see if you're a good fit. And then if they ever have like any leads for like transactional lending, such as like EMDs, double closes, I split that as well too. So definitely. But yeah, more capital. You think you have a lot of capital until you don't.
Exactly. And
Mm.
just to clarify, when you lend on these deals, are they strictly single family homes, or do you actually lend on multifamily homes?
Single family is usually the main. They're just more high end. So
Sure.
I have an investor in Palm Springs. She's, the market is high end there.
Right.
Sometimes I lend for between mostly single family. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
And if people wanted to reach out to you, say, "Hey, I got some capital that I want to deploy. I'd love to partner with you and see if you could help me make it grow." How would they do that?
Instagram. Instagram's my go-to. So Instagram at Brenda Builds Wealth. Send me a message. I'd love to get on a call or on a Zoom call and connect.
Awesome. And I'm just going to ask you one last thing. If there was one nugget or piece of advice you could share with somebody that's watching this, what would that be?
Do it. Just do it. Like just learn as you go. Like just do it. Like obviously you're gonna take some caution with it, but still like set a deadline. Like what do you want to do? And by this date, you should probably do that. Because then you're just gonna kill time. And by the time 3 years go by, 4 years go by, you know, I'll I don't even want to know like where I'll be in 4 years. Like if I keep the focus that I have right now, I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure it'll be good stuff.
That's awesome. I think that's perfect advice because, again, if you keep on procrastinating, next thing you know, like you said, 3 years later, you're still in the same spot and you never
You're
got
still in
anywhere.
the same spot. Like Jose's gonna be like up here, and that person's still like deciding. Like
Yeah,
just do it.
take action.
Yeah, just do
That's
it.
awesome. Well, for the audience, if you want to get a hold of Brenda, I'm gonna make sure that her contact information is in the description. Brenda, I know you're a busy person, so thank you so much for giving me your time today and sharing your knowledge and your journey with everybody. And for the audience, until the next episode, later, fam.